7 nanometers. Can you visualize how small that is? Let's try. A strand of human hair is about 100 micrometers thick, and that's about 14,000 times wider than 7 nanometers. In fact, with this scale, we could measure the thickness of a single DNA strand, clocking in at around 2.5 nanometers. Some of the smallest effective transistors we've ever created were just a single phosphorus atom across. That leaves out the silicon aspect of it, but still. And that's about 0.2 nanometers in diameter. So much for the end of Moore's law. So we are literally fabricating processors on the same scale as us, as human beings. And here's why it is so important. Now, just to clarify, 7 nanometers does not describe the size of the transistor in a CPU. We discuss this in more detail right here. The length actually describes the precision of the fabrication, how detailed you can get. Think about it like, I don't know, the size of a pixel. Smaller pixels take up less real estate on a screen, meaning you can pack more of them into the same amount of space. The result is a higher degree of detail, more information per frame basically, and that's why fabs like TSMC, Global Foundries, and Micron use this notation. Perhaps above all else, the node shrinkage signifies a bump in efficiency, and that's what we'll discuss first. So, in short, 7 nanometer processors are extremely efficient. Surprise, surprise. Apple was the first to push a 7 nanometer processor to market, dubbed the A12 Bionic. You might have heard of this before. The iPhone XS boasts nearly 7 billion transistors in an 83 square millimeter surface area. That is smaller than my pinky nail. Just, yeah, visualize that. By contrast, the Xbox One X sports a similar number, 7 billion or so, in a package significantly larger, roughly 360 square millimeters. This is because the Xbox utilizes a 16 nanometer fab, so the node shrinkage alone allows us to cram similar amounts of compute power into much smaller packages. That is obviously one pro. Another trait of a smaller transistor is its lower capacitance, defined simply as the amount of electrical energy a component can store. Now, in the case of CPUs, transistors act as switches and require threshold voltages to both open and close. Smaller transistors inherently have lower threshold voltages since the gaps between sources and sinks are smaller, right? They're smaller transistors, and the energy to function effectively is thus lowered by a significant amount. A byproduct of this is frequency, meaning the gates themselves can open and close faster if less energy is required to build up in the process. So overall, this increase in precision allows these processors to save power and operate faster, which is a win-win for the consumer. There are drawbacks, including leakage, which has been a concern for the past 5 or 6 years, but we're constantly coming up with innovative ways to solve that problem. Another benefit of smaller, more precise CPU architecture is space, obviously. Remember that A12 Bionic chip we just talked about? Its die covers less than a square centimeter of area, meaning Apple had plenty of additional space to work with. It means a bigger battery, it means more RAM, it means a larger GPU, more cache. It really just depends on what the manufacturer deems necessary. NVIDIA, for example, took the opportunity with its 12 nanometer process to cram additional compute, tensor, and RT cores into that massive TU102 die in the cases of both the 2080 Ti and Titan RTX. Can we just call that like the Titan R? Of course, there are thermal limitations associated with any electrical work done, but assuming you've got a beefy enough cooling system, the benefits of a smaller architecture in this case are limitless and allows companies like NVIDIA to experiment with innovative ideas and new ways of solving complex problems. But with the 7 nanometer fabrication comes its financial and technological challenges, another reason why their entrance into the market is such a big deal. Production costs scale rather exponentially with node shrinkage. That's just relying on historical context there. And foundries like TSMC, currently supplying Apple, Qualcomm, and NVIDIA among others, are feeling the strain. Higher degrees of precision mean more mistakes, to put it lightly. This is one of the reasons why I expect the lower tier Zen 2 chips, in the case of AMD, to be extremely affordable. If the yields per core are lower, and we expect 2 CCXs per die, and maybe up to 4 CCXs in total, then Zen 2 4-core CPUs should be an ample supply by default. This is why prices for higher core count chips don't scale on a price per core basis in a linear fashion. If the yields for an 8-core variant are 40%, let's say, and the yields for a 4-core variant are 80%, then the 8-core chip should cost well over twice the price on the consumer side, since these failure failure rates cut into AMD's own margins. Intel, mind you, is dealing with a very similar failure rate with their in-house fabs, which is a reason why we keep seeing 14nm refreshes from them. Not the only reason, but it's a big one. So I hope this short little video at least shed a little bit of light into some of the reasons why the 7nm leap is, first of all, so difficult and so important in the industry. I expect the year 2020 will be a sweet time for PC gamers and enthusiasts, and it'll be a great time to finally just appreciate competition in the space. I think we need more entrants, but I'll take whatever I can get at this point. What do you guys think? I know this was a short little video. I could have gone into more detail, but just bringing up the whole 7nm conversation is good because we're looking forward to a lot in the next 2 or 3 years. If you like the video, you know what to do. Dislike it for the complete opposite feeling, or if you hate everything about life, you can click that red subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is Science Studio. Thanks for learning with us.